Hello everybody, I'm Liz, this is French Toast and Books, and today I'm here to talk about the books I read in February, wrap them up, tell you how many I finished, which is one, and also tell you how I felt about my try books for my try 5 books out of my TBR shelf, or bookcase as it is, to see if I'm still interested in the books I have been collecting over the years. And I knew February was going to be a tough reading month for me. Not only is it short, but it's also my birthday month, so I want to be doing all sorts of other things that don't include reading. And then we have fun games that have been monopolizing my attention. Particularly the culprit are 2 video games, Elden Ring, which came out February 25th, and Pokémon Arceus or Arceus, however you pronounce that. Let's get right into the one and only book I finished in February, which was Infidel by Ayaan Hirsi Ali. This is a memoir, and I did overall enjoy it. There was a few things that irked me and bothered me, so I'm not sure exactly how to formally rate this. I'm gonna give it maybe a 3.5 out of 5 stars for the time being. I just know that I struggle a lot with books that don't have some type of overall theme or an arc or anything like that, and memoirs or autobiographies, like none of that really has to have that. It's just like a little preference of mine that I want to know the point of why I'm reading a story, and this one didn't really have one unless you want to count it as anti-religious or anti-Muslim and atheist political propaganda, I guess. I don't know. That's kind of how I felt about the story. Even when Ali was very devout or a practicing Muslim, living in Muslim-centered regions, adult Ali pushed on her anti-religion, her atheism ideals into it, which made me just not connect as well with the story. I think I would have been okay with it if I kind of saw the young, devout, or practicing Ali start to change, and what little things began the change and had her seek out a change from being Muslim into being an atheist. Like, I wanted to kind of see that progression more. Also, I will say this going in, heavy on the content warnings for religious trauma, medical trauma, wartime scenarios, and all of that stuff going in, which can definitely make some content in this book not for everyone. Next, we have my 5 try a chapter monthly books that I do, and obviously I didn't finish any of them. But let's talk about my thoughts and feelings going in, whether or not I'm going to keep reading them, put them on my shelf for a later date, or just get rid of them altogether. This month has a lot of sour notes, I guess. It wasn't a particularly great reading month. First up, we have The Husband by Dean Koontz. All you really need to know is that our main character, Mitch, his wife's kidnapped and he has 60 hours to come up with $2 million or his wife dies. And going in, I didn't expect to label this book incredulous. The first 15 pages, everything that happens in a whirlwind, unbelievably so. I can't really quite put my finger on whether or not these kidnappers are really genius, really dumb, or Dean Koontz just doesn't know how, kidnapping works. And especially with Mitch, the way he pieces things out, the way his brain works, just feels kind of strange to me. And that is why I'm very hot and cold with this book. Because I was so, I wouldn't say determined, but I really thought that I was going to put it down. Thought I was going to DNF it and walk away, and then things would happen where I'm like, oh, I want to find out more. I want to see what happens next. And so maybe I'll keep reading. And then something else happens where I'm like, no, I need to walk away. But then I keep reading and something else happens that gets me to keep reading. And so it's just this, like, whirlwind or roller coaster or Ferris wheel, whatever you want to call it, of an experience in this book. I can say that I think I need to reevaluate every single Dean Koontz book I own and just get rid of everything unless I really, really, really want to try it, because I don't think Dean Koontz is for me. We have a lot of tropes in this that irk me. Mitch's parents, oh, having psychologists or very like well-educated people who want to experiment on their kids just does not sit well with me. It irks me to no end. Like can't say for all, but most, I don't think, and most like therapists or psychologists are going to do that, or they're not going to experiment on their kids, and especially not experiment on like ways that are traumatic, like traumatizing, very, very traumatizing to their children. It astounds me that that trope is in here. Also, we have a male author that thinks they can write women but cannot write women. So all in all, I know I'm gonna read this book, finish it, hopefully this week, even though I probably should have stuck it in the DNF pile like forever ago. Then we have The Alchemist, the first book in the Secrets of the Immortal Nicholas Flamel by Michael Scott. The best way to express my experience reading this book is it's early 2000s YA. So this book was published in 2007. Also, it didn't help that I thought this was middle grade for some reason. It's YA. Our two main characters are 15-year-old twins. And it just has a lot of weird YA tropes that are not for me. I still don't know whether or not I'm going to keep reading this or if I'm going to get rid of it. I haven't decided yet. I'm still thinking about it, because I could enjoy my experience reading this if I keep looking at it at kind of like the same Twilight lens that I had while I was rereading Twilight, but I also don't know if I want to subject myself to that. Many of the things that bothered me a lot reading this was it switches points of view like you switch colors of M&Ms if you're one of those that just grab M&Ms out of the package. Like the colors. That's how fast and rapidly and without any rhyme or reason points of view shift. It also makes the twins know things that they shouldn't know. And there's also a lot of monologuing, like Nicholas Flamel monologues. The villain monologues. It does go into the villain's point of view, which bothers me a lot. Thinking back to like the Queen of the Tearling bothered me a lot because it doesn't give me as much high stakes. It doesn't give me as much mystery because I know exactly where the villain's mental thought process is going, their plans, how they're going to get there, what they're going to do to get there. And so it doesn't leave such high stakes for me. Also, this is something that's maybe a personal, like, weird thing for me is when somebody is introducing twins and the first thing that comes out of the other person's mouth is, oh, they're not identical twins. And you're like, well, duh. The whole, like, that's the first thing you say when you are introduced to two people that are twins is, oh, they're not identical. What's the point? There is none. And so I thought it was dumb. I do have to say that I'm getting nostalgic reading this book because, as I said, the teens are 15 and it's, you know, the 2005, 2007-ish, which is back when I was around that same age. So when the characters is playing like the same video games as I did and they're watching the same movies as I did and they have a lot of like similar interests. So it's feeling nostalgic for me, but I don't know if that's necessarily the reason why I should continue reading. Next, we have Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. This book, I knew I wasn't going to finish it in February. I will be lucky if I finish it by the end of the year because I do still want to keep reading little bits here and there throughout the year. It's a big chunk of a book and I don't read quickly and I have other things I'd rather read consistently. We'll find out. Maybe there's going to be a moment where I feel the need to read a whole huge chunk of this. I don't know. All I know is the pictures are still phenomenally beautiful. I love looking at them. Whoever drew them is creative. Like, I love it. I enjoy the Arthurian legends. I want to see how J. Kristoff utilizes Arthurian legends in the story and learning more about who Gabriel is, what led him to become a hunter and join the Vampire Hunter Guild that he's a part of, and their training and rulings and teachings and everything that happens. I do have to say that my biggest gripe, I think, going into this book was the tone, especially the POV tone in this book. It was kind of weird and jarring because before Gabriel starts with the tale of his life, he's a captive, but he never references himself by name. He's always the hunter or the killer, and the vampires are always like the murderers, the monsters, or it. Even it is thrown around a lot in reference to the vampires, and then Gabriel does reference kind of a lover in it, but it's always lady. And so just kind of like the pronouns or the people identifiers is very kind of weird for me specifically. But other than that, I'm still very intrigued. And like I said, I want to learn more. I just know it's going to take me a long time to get through this. And so I'm allowing myself to take my time. Then we have What We Devour by Lindsay Miller. I am very much enjoying this. It's very dark, very like atmospheric. And I do love that about this book. I do have to say that this book is very exposition-y in parts where it feels almost info dumpy, but I'm also not sure that there would have been a better way to bring up and educate the reader about the magic system and the history and the political components of this book without it. So I'm not saying it was bad, I'm not saying it was good, I'm just saying it was okay for when I was reading it, especially when already 8 chapters in, it still feels very expressive with the info and trying to get the reader on the same page as every person in the book. I do also have to say that I did start this on audio towards the end of the month. I should have gotten to it sooner because I can see myself finishing this book very, very quickly. But while listening to the audiobook, I got confused on storyline for a second, and I don't know why, but I thought this book was Furyborn for a second because our main character has a lot of different powers. And so I got confused for a second, and I had to seriously like smack myself on the head and be like, Liz, this is What We Devour, not Furyborn. Get your head in the right book. Once doing that, I am, like I said, very intrigued. The magic is very interesting and definitely not something that happens in a lot. So it feels very unique. Another thing that feels very unique is our main character, right off the bat, she's already betrothed. So that doesn't typically happen. And so I'm very interested to see how the relationship changes via the events in this book, and if they're still going to be together at the end, or if maybe a new love interest is going to be introduced and we'll see that love bloom. I am very, very interested to see what happens with that aspect of this book. The last chapter book for February was Furyborn by Claire Legrand. I did not even get to this book. I was too busy and or not in the mood to read so it didn't happen. And that's very unfortunate. I'm very upset that I didn't get to it. It didn't help that the audiobook that I requested from my library took a little bit longer than expected, so I didn't actually end up getting the audiobook until towards the end of the month, and by then I was dealing with everything else that I had already been working on reading, and so it didn't happen. I am definitely going to try to get to it this month. Hopefully I like it, or at least have some thoughts to talk to you guys about it for my March wrap-up. So there we have it. There we have 6 books that I either read, attempted to read, or wanted to read in February. I know I didn't have a great reading month, but I know I tried, and that's really all that matters. Please let me know in the comments down below what was your favorite book that you read in February, or maybe what book did you kind of struggle through. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, I love you. Bye!